magnificently inspired. Richard Eder of the New York Times says, brilliantly grotesque. The Austin Sun, this may be the best podcast ever made. A boy and his dog. A podcast that has become a cult legend.
Right now I'm hungry and I want to get laid.
That's what you always say.
You asked it around, get the question around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric back from a luxurious Labor Day holiday, the start of college football. For Michigan State, it started half an hour later than everybody else in the country. For Clemson, it maybe still hasn't started. And for Keon Coleman, I take back everything I said about you being a greedy bastard. That performance against LSU put that guy on everybody's draft board if they weren't paying attention. And I also...
If only Michigan State had money to pay him, right? Isn't that the big problem?
Well, sometimes the best things in life are free, like free Harbaugh. Is that his going rate now? Or is that a political statement?
I want to tell our listeners about Keon Coleman first, please.
What? Who?
For those that don't know who he is.
Oh, hey, guess who's back from vacation? Go ahead, you got the floor.
No, I just wanted you to do it, Michigan State guy.
I had said all I had to say about him. You don't want me to go on and on. I was concise. I was to the point. I moved on. And
a wide receiver for the Michigan State Spartans that left for Florida State for reasons that are unknown except for money.
Well, all we hear is that he needed more money.
Yeah.
Because then Mel Tucker complained about not having enough money. Even though, how much does he make?
Mel?
Oh, is it his job to pay him?
No, but I'm just saying, I don't want to hear him complain about money when he's making $9.5 million.
Mel Tucker now makes the median average salary for major coaches in the United States, which is a tragedy and a disgrace and a shame. But we want to get to some more positive stuff, like my great column on the mayor's race, which everybody read, and which revealed my adult dyslexia that kicked in. Yeah, it's good. Okay. People moving forward, people standing up and declaring their interest in being a part of our political class and our leadership and all that other good stuff. And we have a special guest, John Carlisle from the Detroit Free Press, is here to talk about a story that is just going through the roof about a dog and old people, and only one of those groups has accidents in the house, and he's going to tell us which one it is and how that dog got into the house. So, John, great to have you on the show.
Hi, boys. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you, as we said. Shawn is beyond. So he says, once again, he loves it when the Soul of Detroit has two great Detroit Free Press columnists on. It doesn't happen every week, but this week it's pretty much guaranteed. So
yeah, no, I'm definitely not in that company.
So that's a wonderful. Oh, who said that?
You're saying
he always says that.
No, he's always talking about how good he is, and that's fine. You prop yourself up however you can.
Why don't you try propping yourself up?
It's just no reason to, really. Oh, I don't deserve that.
You're the worst.
You know, self-love, Shawn, doesn't always involve puffs with lotion, okay? Sometimes it comes from within.
Why do you need lotion if you know what you're doing?
What? Wait, what?
Okay.
I wasn't expecting that one. Okay, expand on that.
John says he doesn't go blue. It's good because we got that covered. And we're also going to talk a little bit about some feedback where some people are weighing in on some of the dynamic personalities on this show. Perhaps some of their self-loathing has revealed itself in their hatred for others.
I just like the fact that I had to run outside the studio for a second, and I realized, is that your car right out front of the house, John?
Yes.
So we both drive Hondas. So that says something, no?
What does it say? What does it say?
I don't know. That we're not driving a Riviera. They were driving along, and we're not saying, "Hey, look at me." That's to me what it says.
I think it reflects our salary.
And maybe mileage.
Yeah.
Well,
on us or the cars?
Both, probably. Yeah,
they're both high.
Well, less than 24 hours after Labor Day, Shawn gives a free plug to the Japanese car makers. Thank you very much on behalf of all American workers.
That are made in
Indiana, though.
Made in Ohio, right?
Ohio, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, where are your cars made?
I think mine was made in Flint.
Was it? Where were the parts made?
Maybe in Lansing. In 1985?
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're talking about your Riviera.
They're probably made at a foundry somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Shit.
That's
and I
true.
drive a 300, which I think is made Windsor. If you hate Canada, then our friends in South Detroit may want to speak to you. In
A
fact,
bunch of progressives over there.
I think Clemmy and I might have a little conversation with you on the other side of the bridge if you're interested in that.
You know, this has gotten a lot harder since you put this big giant monitor, and I can't see you anymore. Which is
Well, he's on the monitor. You
Yeah,
can
but
see
it's
him
not
on the
the
monitor.
same. There's a delay.
You need to experience like the audience experiences.
There you are.
Oh, yeah, that's only if you're watching
He's
on
very
Facebook.
good. He's good looking, right? He's
YouTube.
fetching. It's
We,
part of the
No,
charm.
He doesn't understand how the medium works, I don't think.
yeah, no, he doesn't even understand how the
What's a
extra
medium?
small works. Sean's more of a double XL guy. Don't talk mediums.
You're talking about my chins?
No, I don't judge you based on your looks. Although I do know you, so I feel safe complimenting your good looks. But I don't.
Callback.
This is what you came for, John?
By the way,
I'm not disappointed yet.
did anybody see that game that happened in a suburb of Dallas where Coach Prime kicked the shit
Oh my God,
out
it
of
was great.
TCU?
It was awesome.
I think that's actually in Fort Worth, or maybe I think TCU's
In Fort Worth.
In
Yeah,
Yeah,
Fort
it's a
Worth.
suburb of Dallas.
Oh, I'm slow.
down.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, it was great. Didn't everybody love that? Is anybody very mad about it? Other than Lee Corso was angry about Prime, having all the transfer portal people.
Did you hear the way he was getting jeered before the game? Did you see that?
I
clip?
did see it, yeah.
Was that a little? What did you think of those jeers? Were they regular boos, or was there something a little bit more to them?
I thought it was regular college football booze.
Okay, just curious. What you
Why?
thought.
And maybe I'm missing something.
Maybe it's
now.
because I know
What was
that
said?
area, and yeah.
What do you think it was racist?
And then TCU, I don't know. I want to be careful what,
What does
I
that
say
mean? TCU, what, a Christian school? Dion is very Christian.
here. He is.
Well, you know what's funny? Usually I will roll my eyes at some college coaches talking about Christianity because I think it's just more a
Recruiting tool.
or recruiting. I don't know. I think it just
Depends on the coach, right?
exactly
And where they're from. Where's Dion's faith come from? It comes up out of singing hymnals, picking cotton to survive.
Well,
no, seriously, that's where his faith comes from. It does. That's the tradition that's been passed down. It's about
Well, I mean,
survival.
he wrote in
where
his
does
book-
TCU folks' faith
He wrote
come?
in his book that it was driving off of a cliff when his life was falling apart.
Right, but he
due
was
to
taught
women
that
and
as a
drugs.
kid, whose parents were taught that as a kid, right? So that's where it did. That's why it feels a little bit different.
I don't know. He seemed to be born again, and it just, look, we judge these things, and I just felt he was very genuine about it.
Did you see the clip of his speech, pregame speech?
A hell of a speech. It's like he was in church.
Did you want to exactly?
Got everyone all riled up.
Did
Those
you want to
guys
go?
all nodding,
Did you
they're
want
all
to go
intense.
play for him? And what was he talking about? Not you, but the guy next to you. It's a very
It's an
clever,
interesting technique.
It's a very clever technique, isn't it?
Maybe
I
run
do this-
outside of the backyard. I had nothing to do. I just wanted to go.
It's not you. You're not a dog. The guy next to you
Yeah.
is a dog. The guy next to you cares about you. That's in
But
football
that's-
in particular, because
That's
there's a lot
not
of
a
pain.
new message that you play for the guy.
It's not a
next
new
to-
message at all, but there's a tone to it that's just.
Must have worked.
And he was building up to a crescendo. I remember Courtney Hawkins, your guy, right, Mike?
He's his own man, but I am a fan of Mr. Hawkins.
Receivers coach at Michigan State. He was a high school coach at Flint Beecher for a long time. And Eric Seals, who's a really good videographer, photographer at the Free Press, and I spent a whole fall up there. It's probably 15 years ago, back when I was actually writing. And he would start before the game. He'd kneel his team down and say the Lord's Prayer, right, in a public school. But the way he would do it, they would start almost singing. It would start as a chant, and it would turn into a song by the end of it. And it got louder and louder and louder. And if you didn't, he made you want to go run out on the field and endure pain, which is what football is. And it gets a little blurry, separation of church and state and that with a public school. But the power and the way that he did that, it was really something. And it made me think of that when I listened to Dion.
I wish he would pray over Malik Carr's hands because he had some pretty ugly drops on
That's all you care about.
Friday, but he did make a catch.
Don't pay the players, but make sure you perform for me.
I'm praying for a young man. What's wrong with that? I do this show for you because I already feel good about myself. This is all about trying to boost your ego. We want you to try and...
I want to lord over rental properties and tailgate and make money and watch these kids, but I don't want them to get paid. And goddamn it, catch.
Well, thanks for the blasphemy and the judgment. I thought you were the guy who didn't judge everybody. But you know who doesn't doesn't believe in the power of prayer for your future. Wow, that didn't sound good, dude.
No,
it makes him sound like he's
he very much believes in it.
He's soulless, but no,
he also believes in numbers.
He's not praying for a better tomorrow. He's working towards it every single day. He's working
doing both. How
for
about
you.
that?
He's working for the person next to you. He's praying for your good fortune, but he's also helping you build that fortune, and maybe he's wondering why he's helping us with this show. But his name is Luke Nowacki.
It's Luke Nowacki. You can give him a call, 248-663-4748. Luke is a fiduciary. He's an investment guy. He wants to make sure that your goals, what they are, and then he wants to make sure you're targeting them correctly. You know, bonds, do you want equity? Where are you going to put your money so it grows? So you're going to have plenty of money late in life, and you won't have to work all the time, maybe, right? Isn't that how it works? Call Luke Nowacki, free consultation, 248-663-4748.
Because while some people lord over tenants and throw tailgates, Luke makes it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. member FINRA-SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
We're also brought to you by the Caju Cafe, the pride of the East Side. Kitchen's open late every night. They have live music virtually every night. It's a great place to go for eats, beats, and treats. Oh, it sounds like kind of like the butchery too. But this is on the East Side. This is the Caju Cafe. We're going to tell you a little bit more about who's playing at the Caju Cafe later on in the show. But to find out what's happening whenever, you can go to the CajuCafe.com. So there are two sponsors here, and of course we're sponsored by everybody who has the kindness to open their wallet, and you know, if they're not being lorded over, they can just maybe out of the goodness of their heart send us a few shekels.
Yeah, that means you struck a nerve.
Well, you know who struck a nerve is John Carlisle with his story about a dog. John has been one of the premier attractions at the Free Press for a long time, writing stories that you won't find anywhere else about places you might not get to, but when you read his stuff, you're like, I think I'm going to try it. I think Mark may have found a reason to spend some more time up north recently, so he knows what a fascinating place it is. But John wrote a shaggy dog. Well, it's not really a shaggy dog. He's kind of more of a...
He's well-groomed. He's not too shaggy.
He's a handsome, sort of a shepherd mix, would you say?
He's a little bit of Rottweiler, shepherd, a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Just a mutt.
So typical wild beast there, and not exactly John London material. I mean, he's not beating off, oh boy, he's not going after wolves or coyotes or anything like that, but he is bringing a lot of comfort and a lot of happiness to some codgers.
Yeah, dog. Do I tell the story briefly?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about it. I mean, this is a story where people like the star of the Marc and Shawn podcast was saying, this is a movie. This should be a movie. Hollywood would be calling John Carlisle and saying,
we're going to steal your story. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah, they usually don't call to do that. They just do it,
and they don't pay you. No, so there was I came across a story about this dog that they picked up wandering up north, took to a animal shelter, and he somehow broke out. He had to climb a 10-foot chain link fence, which it's hard enough for a person. I don't know how a dog does it, but he did it, hopped over across the highway, and for some reason walked into this nursing home, snuck in middle of the night. They have automatic doors. They're a little more trusting up there. There's very few protocols.
Yes.
Normally you need a key card or something to swipe that open. Yeah,
just like we did. So he went to sleep on a couch in the lobby for the night. And so the next day a nurse found him, and she was astonished. You know, who's this dog? No one knew who this dog was. So they called the animal shelter. And the animal
It's not a small dog, right? I mean, you see this dog laying and you're like, oh, okay, I better be careful with
pretty
this.
medium-sized, good-sized dog, 70, 80 pounds. And so they called the animal shelter.
It's a big dog.
The shelter said, coincidentally, he escaped from us. We're going to come get him back. So they took him back. A couple days later, he's back on that couch. Like, how's he keep doing this? They took him back. Third time he does this. So this time, oddly enough, the nursing home says, maybe we should just keep him. He clearly wants to be here. And so they adopted this dog. And it just becomes an unusual sort of inadvertently feel-good story. I don't like doing feel-good stories. You know what I mean? They're hallmarky. I try to put something dark in there to balance it out. I just hate that stuff. But
well, the dog ripped an old person's throat out, right?
He did not. Actually, it's shocking. It's what's weird about it is that they trusted this dog.
I guess I misread that.
These are very slow old people. You're taking a risk letting a dog in there.
Yeah, when they don't know his background either, too, right? Isn't that pretty risky?
Yeah, exactly. He had been abused. You could tell. He cowers. You go near him, he barks at men. I mean, There's risks all over the place.
As he should.
Yeah, but he's real gentle with the old people. He's a little older up there.
What do you mean, as he should? What do you
Bark it, man. We
Sean,
deserve to be barked at.
Sean is cowering.
John, I was wondering this what I guess, what do you call it? Long-term care facility or old what is it?
It's nursing home. I know
Nursing
they
home.
got some euphemism for it, but it's a nursing.
What else is around there? I mean,
They're making Soylent Green.
why is there anything next door? Is that like the first building he saw?
He had other there was an apartment complex down the road. You go a little farther, there was a gas station. So, there's not a ton out there, but it's weird that he kept going there. Maybe he tried other doors and this was the only automatic one. No one knows. But, that's kind of supposedly the charm of it, the little bit of mystery. Why did he choose that, I kind of left it ambiguous.
Yeah. How'd you find out about it? You said you came across it. What does that mean exactly?
So, it's hard to find stories up there. And, you scour.
Not for you.
Well, it's harder than it looks. So we look in very obscure places. I just saw somewhere an ad for a fundraiser for this shelter. The nursing home was holding. It was just some ad somewhere, and it said, in honor of Scout, or on behalf of Scout, this dog who escaped the shelter and came here and we adopted him. I thought, that sounds very strange. I should explore it. And that's how I found it, And Mike and I were talking about earlier, the best stories are often just a footnote or an asterisk in something else, And so it was like that. We just went up there. Even when we were going up, I was talking to Ryan Garza, the photographer. I'm like, this is a stupid idea. Why are we going up here? We're going to interview a dog, But it turned out, you never know which ones are going to take off. But you're right about dogs, and people go bonkers.
We used to have this problem when I was at this small paper in New Hampshire. You put a dead person on the front page of the paper, nobody cares. Then one time you put a dead moose on the front page of the paper, the phones are ringing off the hook because people really connect to animals. I think they feel like animals have never done anything wrong.
They're
right?
innocent.
So when something when something bad happens to them, the poignancy is kind of built in. But before this dog made its way over to the nursing home, any idea where it was before it got to the shelter? Was he picked up off the street? Did somebody drop him off? Was he just...
They said they just found him wandering, and out there it's kind of countryside, so
Yeah.
somebody must have called in and said, here's a dog, and they brought him in, and I think within a day he bailed.
He had enough.
He was born to run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I make a good song.
Yeah, somebody
While
should
you're
do-
looking for
Yeah.
nuggets out there, it might want
No.
What's
Pass
the
that
response been like? I mean, Mike was relaying it to his experience, but what about your experience? What was
It
that?
took off. It went crazy, you combine dog with up north, and up north stories always seem popular, so it took off way more than I wanted. I don't know about you guys, but it's often the ones you put the hardest work in don't ever do as good as you want, but then something goofy like a dog. I'm not downplaying it. It's a good story, but I've worked harder on other things that did a fraction of this. But it took off, and then it got linked elsewhere, and then other people thought it was so good, they wrote their own version, which was fantastic to see. Yeah.
Nice.
And they mentioned you
Was it really
in
that
a footnote
fantastic?
this time. Yeah,
I became the footnote.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Full circle.
cycle of life, brother.
Yeah.
But you do a lot
action.
of interesting stories from the UP, and the way a lot of us became aware of you was your work for the Metro Times, where you're telling these really kind of, and I don't want to say offbeat because I think it diminishes them, but these stories out of Detroit that you wouldn't get anywhere else, and you developed a reputation. You became kind of a legendary guy, and then came to the Free Press and continued doing the great work. And you still do a lot of great work around here. I mean, I loved your story on the house bars in Wyandotte. I still need to go to one of those. I hope they're still open. Are they still open?
I think there are some. I kind of did that. Mark Kurlianchuk took the lead on that. I kind of did more of the supportive drinking on that one and reviews.
We all have a role to play.
Yeah.
That's the one I would have picked.
It's harder in Detroit. I love doing Detroit. I think I hit a lot of the low-hanging fruit. It's harder to find stuff, I had a good one last year. I found a house where people go and they take psychedelics and like
Oh yeah, I
massive
remember that. The
doses.
Mushroom House. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the opposite of a wholesome dog story. I got funny feedback. A lot of our older readers did not care for that story.
That's a great story.
What was the name of the guy?
That was a great story.
Sincere Genesis. He has like 5 names. They're all made up, 7 and all this. And he was a talker, man. You just turn on the tape and he'd talk for an hour and just the universe and psychedelics and philosophy and religion. especially when the drugs started kicking in. Because
Yeah.
I'd go there, and he'd dose up before the interview.
Yeah.
So as the interview would go on, the sentences would get a
boy.
little longer,
Yeah.
a little dreamier. Anyway, that's
That
the kind of
happens
stuff.
on this podcast, actually. Sean may be dropping right now.
Oh yeah, it's his fault. John, so you live down here in this area, but
I
you,
do.
Thank you, Mark.
I know, but you write so much about the UP. I mean, that seems odd. I guess that just reading it, I assumed you lived up north.
I know a lot of people think that. I just like writing about obscure things, and that was always an area that was undercovered. Not many people go up there. That's where you find a lot more obscure stories, just like Detroit neighborhoods. And it's just easier to find them up there now. You can throw a rock and find a story, whereas in Detroit, I got to work a little harder. Plus, it's a free trip up north, so I go up north.
Do you do it for the mileage?
Get the
That's
mileage.
what I-
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the mileage. Sometimes we just go in circles to rack it
Yeah.
up.
You had a really good story about, and maybe it's just because of what I do, near and dear to my heart, about the radio station, the high school radio station that got their frequency bought out by a bigger Christian radio group, which really doesn't seem terribly Christian. It's a really good story, but I wondered, has there been a follow-up to that? Have they raised the money to get a new frequency?
Oh, they've raised like 10. They've raised, I think, 30 grand. They needed like 2 or something. And you don't buy them. They assign them to you. What
That's
they need.
true,
They
yeah.
needed a new transmitter because they had a low power one. So they got the money.
10
for
watts,
it.
right?
Yeah, 10
This
watts.
is really weak, but yeah.
I know the editors wrote me. They're like, "Hey, sure? Do you mean 10 kilowatts?" I said, no, 10 watts.
Yeah.
It's 10 watts. You can't once you get around the hills around town, you can't hear the station. But yeah, they had a great outcome.
I like that story because it really showed how, a lot of people love saying radio's dead. And yeah, in major markets, radio's dead, right? Because everybody's got internet access. You can stream Spotify or listen to podcasts. But up there, internet's a little spotty, and the communities are so tied in to, events that are going on and local things that radio still plays a huge role in those small markets. And this is just a little high school radio station. So they're talking about their lives and stuff. I don't know. It's just kind of sad to read that and them going, oh boy, we lost our frequency. Someone took it over.
That station's great. It's kids talking about random things and about things they see in class. But even though it's a high school station, like for example, the grocery store pipes it in. That's their music. The kids talking. And
Really?
yeah,
Yeah, it's
Isn't that
great.
funny.
That's
town,
awesome.
The town grocery store. Yeah, that's a great. David and Goliath and all that. But people say radio is dead till you get north of that bridge and your Spotify playlist stops
Exactly.
working, which happens
Oh, yeah.
all the time. And so I love listening to the radio up there. It's like their classic rock stations play completely different songs than ours do.
Oh, that's
like things you haven't heard in
Very
years.
deep cuts, yeah.
Yeah,
They have
I mean,
a lot
I've
more
made-
freedom. They're not as corporate.
Yeah, exactly. And they have weird things up there. They have like live auctions on the air. People call up. It's like a garage sale on the air.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I'm selling a used table, $10. Call this, and they'll give out their number on the
Yeah.
air.
They
You
did
can't
that in
get
New
here.
Hampshire too. Swap shop.
Swap
You know,
shop.
Yeah,
and
something
it would
like
go
that.
for an hour, and you had no interest in buying any of this stuff. But some of the things people were selling were so weird, and the host was. He was a guy who I think was missing some teeth, so he kind of whistled when he talked. So he was not your classic radio guy, but the whole dynamic, you really felt like you're getting a feel for the place. And I was just driving back from Muskegon and went through Ionia and their local radio station, exactly what you were saying. I'm listening to classic rock. I'm like, I have not heard this forever. They played Hot Rod Lincoln.
Oh,
You never hear
Commander
that on
Cody?
CSX. Yeah, I mean, it's great stuff, man.
Yeah, not to pick on a local station, but they do play. You'll hear the same number one hits
Oh, yeah.
from
Yeah.
the 70s over and over and over, where these guys will play deep album cuts and B-sides. And
You might even
really
hear
good
Triumph,
songs.
right?
You might. You're almost guaranteed to.
I'm trying to get Mike to sing.
You should be. Has anybody seen the Triumph documentary, by the way?
No.
No,
It's awesome.
Just you.
I watched it twice. It's
Mike
very,
loves Triumph, and he likes to sing.
very good. I don't like to sing, at least not when there are people.
No,
who
you like to sing Triumph.
I do like Triumph.
Well, let's hear a few lines.
You
No,
have
let's
to.
not.
I don't want to make you miss your lunch.
Oh,
date.
he does it well.
But so the dog story's taken off. I mean, a lot of stories from the UP people really love, and they really get into them, and they're great. They're great tales. One of the things that we've been speculating on is where does this go? I mean, is this the next great Disney movie? What do you think happens? Do people ever call you and say, "Hey, can you write a magazine article for us?" Or have you thought about redoing this for us? Or you name it, like CBS Sunday Morning or something.
No.
Has Jane Pauley got you on speed dial?
No, you know what happens is I'm
Other
watching.
than that uncomfortable romantic entanglement you
I
had.
don't
where
want to talk
Doonesbury
about
got
that right
mad.
now. I'm not
Yeah.
ready for that. Okay, I'm still dealing But I find out about CBS Morning News when I'm watching CBS Morning News. I'm like, that guy looks familiar. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the guy I interviewed 2 weeks ago. So they don't even call. And I don't get offers. This business, sometimes I just can't take it, that people will just copy you without acknowledging it. At least this time, the few people who did copy it acknowledged that we did it first. They'll link to the Detroit Free Press. And it doesn't even have to be to me. I don't care about my name or anything, but at least acknowledge you took it from someone. But yeah, I get no offers for nothing. No money.
Okay. That's the equivalent of the old radio rip and read, where people are reading your story on the radio and they never mention, and as reported.
Or TV, they still do it in local TV,
Oh, yeah.
Some of the Detroit stuff I've done, they'll go out the next day and they'll do it. And there's not a mention that the Free Press did it. We're the ones who did 99% of the legwork and got this guy warmed up talking, but nope.
And they get warned about that occasionally, where if something's wrong in there and they don't attribute it to the original source, they're now liable. So for their own sake, these reporters should be saying, "Is the Free Press first report?" Then get right in. Nobody really hears that. Nobody's going to be less interested in the TV story if they know where it came from in the first place. It's just kind of
it covers them.
It's just well, for legal reasons they should do it, but just for human decency they should think about it. It's kind of a little graceful moment they can have. I guess so. I guess so.
John, was it surprising to you how the story took off? Really?
Well, a little bit. I knew it would take off. I didn't know it would go this crazy. It's gotten so far like 10 times the amount of readership a normal story gets. And it's all over the country. I'm getting letters from Texas.
A normal story of yours, or just
of mine? Because everyone knows
Mike Elrick.
Well, no one's going to hit that.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Let's not be ridiculous. We want to be gracious to our guests, but
we can only
he's no MLL
aspire. Exactly.
Third person.
Come on. What the hell?
But, we all know what our usual is, and it just took off. And it's all over the country, and everyone's saying how they were crying. I'm not sure why it touched people like that. It was just kind of a...
You tapped into the Tony Soprano's fine killing his best friend, but he's going to cry when the Ducks leave. That's
exactly.
That's what you tapped into.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, we're all getting older. We all get lonely. We've all had pets. We all know how much a pet means to us, and I think it's one of those things where when you see that these codgers are kind of coming to life because this dog, and the way you wrote about, he's going into rooms and he's checking on people who don't feel well. This dog seems to be
in tune.
Yeah, it's very empathetic, and I think we can connect to that. I know that one of the things that I worry about when I get locked away for raving or doing whatever, throwing my diaper at people, is that I won't have pets. I've had pets my whole life. They mean more to me than some of the people in my life, because you can always count on them. They're always there, and it seems sad to lose that, along with your friends and your family and your motor skills and your your wits.
Mark, are you rolling your eyes?
Your train of thought. No, I was really interested to see where he was going.
Oh, you did? Yeah, you sounded really.
Got very morbid there.
You sounded really interesting.
I have a morbid question.
Continence.
How long has Scout been at this home?
He's been there 5 years, so this is not breaking news. Yeah, it's just no one knew about it, so I went in there and wrote about it. Yeah, so he's a permanent resident.
So I assume he's experienced death up there.
Well, yeah. In fact, one of the guys I put a few older gentlemen in the story, and one of them died 3 weeks after we went there, before the story even came out. I just found that one of the readers told me.
I only asked because I remember seeing a story about a cat, right? And the cat kind of knew when a resident was about to pass, which is kind of very ominous that this cat would come into the house.
Well, cats will eat you if they find you dead in the house.
Thank you for that piece of information.
He was just planning ahead.
But that's what they said there, that he knows. That's what I was wondering. And he lays down with the people who are dying. And
that's what you wrote, though, right?
Yeah. Well, I put it in there.
Yeah.
It's funny. The people responded. I kind of shoehorned a second story in there because you can't talk to the dog, and we ran out of stuff to say. And so we were there, and there was this old guy wandering around. I didn't know if he had dementia or what. He kept going, I'm supposed to have pizza. I'm supposed to have pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And me and the photographer were looking at each other like, what is he talking about? I couldn't even understand him. Brian understood him. And I finally asked him, and they told me this elaborate story, how this friend of his 8 months ago promised to come on this date for a pizza party and just forgot. She just said it. She was just talking. She probably didn't know if he'd be around. But he remembered it every day. He's been looking forward to this party. And so he was forlorn and wandering around. So one of the nurses said, we're going to have a pizza party, and I'll throw one for you. And it was just a very nice little gesture. a story within a story, and we really didn't have much to go on, so I threw it in there. I kind of welded it in there, not terribly elegantly, but a lot of the people wrote and said that's what got them, like the old guy wandering and getting his pizza party. It's funny, the things people will, for whatever reason, be uplifted by.
But the nursing home is a character in a way, right? Itself, not just the people that there. So when you do that, you kind of give us a better sense of that place. And you were talking earlier, John, about and forgive me if this was recorded. My memory's terrible, as Mike would tell you. I don't know if you were
moving to that
saying,
yeah, some dog was.
Let's move him into that.
He found a dog sleeping on his couch.
John, will you take him up there?
I don't remember if you actually said this when we started recording before, but this idea of sometimes stories like this are tricky for you because you don't want them to be really saccharine and overly sentimental.
They're all like that,
and so forth. But can I just say this though? And this is more of a comment than a question. I think that's one of my favorite things about the way you write. In this particular story, in a lot of folks' hands, and I don't want to say some at the Free Press, but that would be something Mike would say. But
I love it when Shawn says something shitty. He says, somebody else would have said that.
That's a good move, Shawn.
It's like when Shawn calls the 800 number and says, my friend's having a problem with erectile dysfunction. His name is Braun. Can you help him? But go ahead there, shitbag.
Good move.
Emoter.
Well
transference
I'm
bastard.
sorry I did that just for him. But no, there was no.
Did that just for him. How kind.
Yeah, so now it comes back on me again.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
Oh, but that's one of your gifts, man. You took something that could have been
a pizza party for Shawn.
Way too much, and it would have been right.
Oh, I appreciate
so sugary, and you didn't do that. You said I got to have something dark in there. Well, no, the premise of the story to some degree is death.
Dark, yeah,
it's death,
very dark.
You're talking about death. That's what you're talking about. So you didn't need to darken that up at all. What you did was perfect, and that's often the case. And I was talking to another colleague of ours the other day about because we're talking about this story and just your stories in general. And to me, it harkens back. No, because it was actually about writing. But
he was talking to somebody who wouldn't have done it as well as John. Trying to coach him up. That's what Shawn does.
But it reminds me a little bit.
Shawn is the scout to the Free Press newsroom.
Of what I like is just we don't need to bog this down into structure and sentence structure and all that, but just the tone. It reminds me a little bit of like Joseph Mitchell up in the old hotel or John McPhee. Some of these guys and gals that used to the way you tell stories. And you kind of remove yourself to a degree, and you just let it unfold and flow. And I think that's why people are so drawn to them. And we're drawn to this one. It's the dog, yes, but it's the way you lay it out there. You just kind of let it. It's like a river. It just kind of goes, and you want to get on and raft down it.
I like your stories because they're about real people, and as opposed to somebody that always has an agenda, like a politician or a businessman,
I won't put
or a shitty sports columnist.
Well, I mean that's a little different, but
agenda.
Is it too much to assume that you appreciate that too? Like these are genuine, real people that
Well, I seek them out. I try to write about people that I always say about no one else writes about, just obscure people,
forgotten ones.
And I hate happy endings. I just hate fakeness. Yeah. I'll tell you, I got a story for you from my early days. You'll appreciate this. So a long ago editor, multiple editors ago, and they
at the Free Press.
Yeah,
was it Mike?
No, it wasn't Mike. He wasn't.
Never been an editor.
He's always wanted to be the editor.
I've always made an honest living.
Anyway, so they sent me out on some assignment. This editor said, "There's a woman whose husband committed suicide. He was a veteran. Go see her. She's on a farm." And I didn't know anything, so I went out there, and he hung him. She found him. He'd come back from Afghanistan. She went out to the barn one morning. He'd hung himself in the barn. She's the one who found him. So this is a few months later, and she had lost it. Like, she had these two big dogs. There was dog shit all over the house. She wasn't even cleaning it up. She was a little crazy to talk to.
Yeah, she'd given up.
Yeah. I mean, this destroyed her, This guy had PTSD. It was about PTSD, basically, and he couldn't take it. So I come back and write the story, and that's how I ended it. Well, this editor said, no, we need a happy ending. I'm like, well, there is no happy. She's crazy. She lost her mind. The story is, this is how bad PTSD is. We should treat it so this doesn't happen to other people. No. I want you to write a happy ending. Well, you tell me, what is it,
Yeah.
And so I wrote something probably full of code and caveats. But I was new. I didn't have, like nowadays, I'd say that I'm throwing the story away then.
Yeah.
But that's what I hate. Fake happy endings, fake saccharine, hallmarky stuff. Because sometimes life's not like that. And that was not the case, And it basically ended with her being nuts. But that's the truth. I'd rather tell the truth than lie to make,
Right. And that's what's going to move people to act. It's not going to be like, oh, her husband died and her dog shit all over the house, but everything's okay. So I guess we don't have to do anything.
That's what it was. That's how he wanted. It was just tack on this ending that makes no sense whatsoever.
I had an editor one time. I filled in on a Sunday and a little kid drowned at some beach somewhere around here. And they wanted me to add a line in it that said, and that's why you have to be careful to watch your kids during the holidays. I said, I think the story says that. I think that's as plain as it could possibly be. Child wanders away. Somebody else is supposed to watch them. They take their eyes off them. They drowned. Anybody who needs me to now add a line that says, this is why you should keep an eye on your children at all times around bodies of water. I'm like, I don't think we need to beat somebody to death, not to mention kind of rub it in to somebody. And there was an editor when I was an intern at the Free Press. I tended to, and I'm sure Shawn will mention this, overwrite stuff. And I wrote something about this, and I was in a rush.
Wait, the editor overwrote you, or you overwrite?
Overspoke to it. No, I wrote. I would tend to try and explain things, that should have just stood on their own. And I was in a rush, and I wrote something very simply. And my editor said, more of that, because he said, it's okay for you to jerk the tears, but don't let me feel your fingers in my eyeball. And I'm like, okay, I think I get that. That some things speak for themselves. And I think that dog story, I think one reason why it's resonated is because it speaks to a lot of things. It speaks to loneliness. It speaks to end of life. It speaks to that kind of this dog is almost like a spiritual character. It's almost like an angel coming there. And so now I'm going to take it in a dark place. Sometimes when you get these old folks in these places, they become very possessive. Did you run into any stories where, like, Scout's always in so-and-so's room, and Mildred doesn't let Scout come into my room, and I want to knit with Scout on my lap, but Gertrude's always hogging Scout?
Not too bad. A few of them, they figured it out, so they got a giant industrial-sized bag of dog treats. So
it's going to be the fattest dog in the world, right?
Well, yeah, he barely ate dinner. They're feeding him all these biscuits, but nothing too crazy. They're really at that place in that household we were in way at the end stages. Like I said, one of the guys we talked to died 3 weeks later. So they're very
right after his pizza party.
Well, it wasn't the guy who had it, but it was his friend at the party. I mean, it was a guy we spent some time with. It's always weird when someone goes that quick. You can expect it there, but no, they were all pretty. They were pretty normal. They were all pretty calm.
Okay. Is there anyone there that doesn't like the dog?
They said somebody. They said one person did. I didn't meet him. I think it was someone who visits, and the dog hates them back. The dog barks every time they walk in the door. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, well, dogs do have a real good sense. There's a great Twilight Zone episode with James Best, who people know as Roscoe P. Coltrane, where he goes to heaven, and he's trying to get into heaven. And St. Peter says, you can come in, but the dog can't. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do without my dog? So he's like, well, let me wander around. They walk around. They come to another gate. And he says, is this heaven? He says, yeah, welcome, brother. And he says, can I bring my dog? And he's like, absolutely. Wouldn't be heaven without a dog. And he's like, well, the other guy said I couldn't bring my dog. And he said, because that's hell. And the dog can smell the brimstone. So they don't want to let the dog in because they'll warn you that you're going to hell. So dogs, dogs are kind of special.
Never saw that one.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great one. It's a really good one. Real simple one. Getting a lot of comments here on YouTube. Francis J. Fox, big fan of John since his Metro Times day. Love you guys in the program, especially cramming when Shawn's voice cracks. And then he says, ML is the man Spartian. So I don't know if you saw that, Shawn, but we can comment on these YouTube watchers.
Yeah, my voice is a little gravelly today. Sorry.
No, you bring great texture.
Nothing great.
Sort of like sandpaper on an open wound. Just a lot of grit. You make an impression.
So do we? I have a question for you, John. Thank you. Do we still have focus groups at the Free Press? Because I used to do some stories up north and around state, and partly it was driven by the focus groups. They would come and say, we need to spend more time up north and in the UP. This is 20-plus years ago. But
I wouldn't be surprised, but I try my best to avoid those at all costs. I just try. I like just going by instinct. I seem to have a good pattern. Find people that you wouldn't think you'd write about. I like when people scratch their heads when I say I'm going to write about this. Like I'll tell my editor, and he's like, "Well, what's the story?" I don't know.
Yeah, you listen to those focus groups. Next thing you know, you're writing every dog story. That
Or you're right about...
That's the problem. That's why I try to avoid them.
Yeah, then you're right about Rick Pellet Gun Krause. A guy could spit a cherry pit for 100 yards or whatever. I don't know. Set a world record.
Is that one of your stories?
I did. I actually did do that.
Well, John's got to... John's got to get up north, so we're gonna have to let him go. You know
what a segue.
Way back
when
we used to have a up north correspondent who lived in Traverse City. Have they ever suggested that you move? Have you ever thought about moving up there?
No, in fact, in this, they're so tight with the budget. Half the time I'm worried they're not going to let me drive up there.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next. Is do you try and knock a couple stories off? Where you're like, if I go up, I can cover these 3 stories, bring it back, and then I'll write them.
Oh, we work like mules. We're up there. We do about a story a day, sometimes more. So if we go on a 3-day trip, we'll work 16-hour days, get 3 stories, come back, and you sleep for 2 days. And we're just constantly working.
Can you do a story on all the dispensaries up there? That's what blew my mind.
Yeah, I know. Me too. They're just growing like weeds up there, so to speak.
Pun intended? Yeah.
No, I hate puns too. I regret that.
I was just I'm like, per capita, this must be the most
Mark will clean it up in post.
Where is it that you have to get to that you can't stay with
none of your business?
He's got to go volunteer at his kid's school.
He's got to see somebody about a dog.
Yeah, a man about a dog. That's what they do up north. John, thanks for coming on.
Gentlemen, it was fun.
And if you love John's work, please subscribe to the Free Press. We got to cover that mileage. Maybe he can go up there and maybe sleep 3 days and work 2 days.
And actually stay in a hotel?
Yeah, or actually upgrade the hotel from the kind with the pee in the bed. That's a whole other story, though.
Was that extra?
I could fill an hour with the stories about the stuff in the bed.
Well, we're going to have you come back. You're going to have to tell some of your travel horror stories.
Yeah. I'll just throw in random comments. I'm right up the road. Have me anytime.
Okay, well, the door's unlocked, so that's how Shawn got in. So come on back. So John Carlisle, Detroit Free Press, check out his work. Great story. You'll find a link to his story on our website. That's mlsolvedetroit.com. And check us out, man. If you have never seen John in person, check out the replay on Facebook or on YouTube. And if you subscribe to our channel on YouTube, hit the bell for alerts. You'll always know when we go live, and it helps our show. We're trying to catch up to the Drew and Mike podcast. I think we're at 490 subscribers. They're up to what?
I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, and then they have the secret $1.4 million YouTube page. So we got a long way to go. So please help us get there. Don, good to see you on Facebook watching us. And John, we'll see you in the paper, man.
John is so smart. He's not going to have to listen to Geek of the Week or Room 7609. I'm very envious.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Every once in a while, something happens on TV that's not supposed to happen. It's Unscripted, which is also the name of a great book I'm reading. If you've never heard about
this show,
the Sumner Redstone book, it's like it's like the real Succession. I mean, it's an incredible.
Oh, he's a nut.
I'm 100 pages into it. It's 344 pages. I'm 100 pages into it, and so far it's all about the 2 women who have been trying to take over his empire. And he's like, I want them to have $50 million. I want them to have $50 million. And they keep bringing women to have sex with them.
Should have gotten him a dog. Yeah,
I mean, it's unbelievable. A scout would have saved him millions, if not billions. But there are these moments that happen on TV that really say everything that needs to be said without meaning to say it. And that happened on Saturday. And I think it was Peacock where they had the big turd. Did you see that, guys?
No, what happened?
So they had the anchors. It was Mike Tirico and whoever the color guy is standing in front of the big Saturday sign.
Uh-huh.
And the way they were framed, they covered up the SA from the Saturday and the AY from Saturday. So it just said big turd.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it went viral. But that exactly captured my feeling about what's going on with television and college football. So for having a moment, and these productions are very carefully scripted. They're very plotted out. People are blocked out, stand on this X, stand there, and they frame everything so they make sure they don't have something like that. So if you're doing a stand-up in front of a building, you don't have a telephone pole coming out of your head so you look like My Favorite Martian or something. So Peacock, for finally, in an unscripted moment, telling us what's really happening with college football. Thank you for the big turd. And congratulations, you're also our Geek of the Week.
There's an all-night party in room 7609.
Wait. What? I think Shawn wants to respond.
Can't let
all of a
that
sudden.
go
No.
unchecked. I'm going to keep this.
I would
quick.
like to point out too.
Finally, that's what's wrong with college football, Mark. Where was Mike Friday night? Where was he?
I assume
was
he's in
in
East
Spartan
Lansing.
Was he at a college football game?
Of course
Yes.
he was.
Okay, then enough said. All right, let's move on.
By the way,
Wait. What does that mean? TV is wrecking college football. I was there in person. I wasn't watching it.
I disagree because I watched so many games this weekend. I thought it was awesome.
There you go.
Right?
No, it was great. In fact, the best game I saw this weekend, Wyoming, Texas Tech.
Oh, double overtime.
Did anybody see that
What
game?
about the TCU?
Yes.
The TCU Colorado game.
Also a great game, but I expected
I'm glad
TCU
every single game's on
and,
TV.
and Colorado to be an interesting game. But I never thought I'd stay up late watching Wyoming play Texas Tech.
See, are you glad?
No. Hey,
why not?
Listen, college football is one of my favorite sports. It's great. This consolidation, everything, gonna ruin it. It's a big turd. But
by the way, I'd like to point out that
I love the way Mark goes.
well, it's not going to.
That's how he dismisses people.
Well, people have been talking about it's going to ruin college football now for years. How money's going to ruin it for years and years and years.
Mark either says or.
By the way, the
really?
number one streaming
It's either
streaming
really
college football
or
game Peacock's ever had. Just want to throw that out.
Yeah.
What,
It's the
Michigan
only
and
one they've ever
Carolina?
had too, right?
No, they had Notre Dame on the last 2 years or last year.
did they?
Yeah, huh?
that's great.
I think when they lost to Marshall, I think that game was only on Peacock and people were scrambling.
By
to
the
find
way,
it.
how about
So
Keon Coleman?
here's what's wrong with college TV. I wanted to watch it at a bar I was at in East Lansing. They said Peacock's the only station we don't get.
Well, they're going to need it because Spartans appear on there later this year.
Great. So I have to pay more to watch college football.
Don't you
So
have
college
it-
football can play everybody more. I mean,
Can somebody correct me on this? I thought if you had Xfinity internet and cable that you got it for what, another $1 or $2.
Maybe you do. I haven't explored it
see,
just because I
everybody-
don't need to watch that much TV. But
Oh, you will when you're
Yeah,
Spartans on.
don't pay for it. I mean, watch it for free.
I've
don't
never
pay the
paid for it.
players. Yeah.
so here's the first
Why
time.
would you want to pay for it? I
And
mean,
the only time you'll
Just
ever
keep
hear me
exploiting
say
them.
this: do not go to the Caju Cafe tonight, Tuesday, September 5th, because they're closed. But they'll be open again on Wednesday with karaoke. On Friday, Powderfinger, a Neil Young tribute, is playing. And we also have ceremonies for the Men's Feather Bowling League with an appearance by Belgian American Association of the Detroit Concert Band. So check out the Feather Bowling League and check out all the fun stuff happening that's Thursday. That's Thursday. Big Al's Jamboree is going to be there on Saturday. Dave Edwards tribute to Delbert McClinton on Sunday. And on Monday, it's going to be Dan Radden, Lee Cleveland, and the Left Hand Band and the Dormant Police. So check out the Caju Cafe. It's Muscle Madness on Monday. Find out more about what's going on at cajucafe.com. And we wrap up our summer of Britpop with Suede performing a little ditty that they call Europe is Our Playground.
make a slur from each other to discover, from Spain to Palestine.
So don't let them catch you calling them the penultimate Britpop band. But Suede, also known over here as the London Suede, are considered the ultimate Britpop band, more so than Blur, more so than Oasis, more so than a lot of bands that really hit their stride in the late 90s while we were getting angsty with grunge. They were getting kind of introspective and exploring their Britishness over there. No flannel for them. Thank you.
I thought that grunge was earlier in the 90s. No? Am I mistaken?
91-ish, right? 90,
yeah.
91.
When did Nirvana?
Nevermind was 91, I believe.
Smells Like Teen Spirit was, yeah. And Soundgarden was around that time too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know what? Soundgarden would have been a little earlier on Sub Pop, like 89. Actually, yeah, Nirvana was a little earlier on Sub Pop.
Late 80s.
So, yeah, but it really blew
up in the early 90s.
91, I would say, yeah.
So we are ending our Britpop summer with Suede, and that is Europe is our playground. Suede is a interesting band because they have a lot of moods. Sometimes they're kind of upbeat. Sometimes they're kind of ironic. They're kind of like Friends, where every episode is the one about whatever. They have 3 different songs about the ones. There's the Beautiful Ones, which I believe we've played in Room 7609 before. Probably one of my favorite Suede tunes. They also have the Wild Ones, which is ironically not very wild, and My Insatiable One, which is what they call Shawn when it comes to bringing energy to a party. He's just insatiable.
Well, it would.
Puts a smile on my face.
The magic.
Does it?
Yes, you do.
The idea that they would say they were in a playground anywhere is ridiculous. I mean, if they were, their music might be a little more full of life or something.
Well, they are.
Playground's all how the individual defines it.
This song's a little more
subjective.
I guess so.
languid, but it's also kind of.
I would say more flaccid, but yeah, languid's fine.
I was
too.
going to say Shawn-like in terms of its energy level, but it's also luscious. It tells a story.
Yeah, it was luscious. It was beautiful.
It's very rich and textured. They're less energetic than Blur, and I'd say less poppy than Oasis. I am not a huge Oasis guy, but Mark, I think you like Oasis, right?
Love them, yeah. One of my favorites.
Drew
you don't.
is a big fan.
Oasis, love Oasis.
You hate Oasis. You like Michigan, and that's it.
You're not gonna know.
Michigan is an oasis. It's an
Playground.
oasis
Is it? No, yeah.
of iniquity.
Are you done?
Okay, sorry, but I mean, how would you compare these guys to Oasis?
Well, we probably wouldn't want to. Really, we'd probably want to.
I feel like they're a little more shoegazy than Oasis. I would say, don't you think?
Or
yeah, no,
I could just say boring.
I mean,
these guys do have some guitar, driven tunes, but it's not quite like I think
Oasis is very more pop.
Yeah, absolutely, and
pop,
more exuberant
tight songs. Yeah,
it's got a lot of energy, a lot of toe tapping to it. But Suede is still around. They started off with a young Irish guitar player, was kind of a Johnny Marr protege. And then he was gone after the first couple of albums, and they put it together. And we also talked about when we played Elastica that I think I'm going to mess up her name now, but the
from Elastica,
Fleischman, is it?
Yeah.
She was the lead singer of Suede's girlfriend, and then they broke up, and she started dating Damon Albarn from Blur. And then she was still in Suede. Well, probably not, because these are skinny little English guys.
No, I was just thinking because you mentioned the Kaju Cafe and they have delicious mussels.
All you can eat. And
that's Sean's way of just wanting to wrap this up.
I know. We're going to just power through. And then they kind of had a bit of a makeover, and they're still going. So if you like Suede, lots of great music out there, and they will close.
We'll take your word for it.
What's your theme for next month?
Well, we are trying to get people to send us their new wave theme songs from movies. We've had a couple nominations, including one that Shawn might. In fact, I almost played Suede's song "Trash" because I thought I could just say, "This is what Shawn thinks of."
Are you a Duran Duran guy?
I thought that was too easy. I do like the boys from Birmingham.
Loves them, yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
So please send us your new wave song that was used as a theme in a movie.
No, I've just seen the lead guy. Is it Simon LeBon? Is that it? Seen him a lot of places recently on social media. I'm not sure why.
Well, Andy Taylor, right? Gave a big interview about his cancer, and yeah.
Oh, is he the guitar player?
Simon helped him out. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, nice. Okay.
He's been sick for a long time. I think he missed the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they've
I'll
also
find that article
had kind of a rift. He didn't come back with them when they, and I think he had some.
Yep.
I think he had some lifestyle issues where they thought, you know what, Andy's just going to do his own thing. But
what movies did you say earlier with the song?
I thought you wanted to move it along.
No, I was just curious because it made me think of that with the Duran Duran, the View to a Kill.
Great song.
That's actually my favorite Duran Duran song.
I feel like, did you ever watch the Tiger TV broadcast when they had George Kell and Al Kaline? They'd have the trivia question. Mm-hmm. And George Kell would ask the question, then Al would say something like, he's currently playing shortstop for the Tigers. And then George would go, Al, you gave it away. He'd always give away those trivia questions.
Sean gave away one?
I'm saying, Shawn, you gave it away. Man, I miss George Kell and Al Kaline. They were so great. All those George Kell
Risen
ones.
Rathburn.
Oh, yeah.
Said no one ever.
Yeah, which was which? That was the problem.
You couldn't tell them apart. Yeah.
They had the same initials. They had the same voice. It was like when you had Dennis Fithian and that other guy on 97.
I enjoyed the
only thing I remember
Harwell's partner, Paul
Carey.
Carey.
Yeah, the baritone.
I went to interview him one time in his house, and he was just the most gentlemanly. No, Ernie was great too, but Paul.
No human better than Ernie Harwell.
No, but Paul was just a great dude. And, yeah, great baritone.
And when Ernie got smoked, Paul Carey said, "I'm gone. I'm not gonna stick around
Smart
for this."
move.
That was.
Do you remember Risen Rathburn? I don't remember who was who, but do you remember the home run call?
Goodbye baseball. Was it goodbye, Mr. Spalding?
Goodbye baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, those.
I mean, they
poor
didn't
guys.
stand a chance. Replacing
No, they did.
legends,
They
but
did.
come
That was
on.
Tom Monahan, right?
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
it was
Bo Schembechler.
Yeah.
It was Bo. It was Bo. In fact, I wrote the obituary for the general manager at WJR at the time, and in my lead, I said he fired Ernie Harwell, and I knew it was going to be upsetting to the family, so I kind of gave them a heads up. They were so upset. They said that should not be, and I said that's the only reason I'm writing about this guy. And they called the publisher, and the publisher, Heath Merriweather, came down and was like, oh, can we do anything? The family's pretty upset. And I said, I can't take it out. I just got there. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do? The publisher's down here telling me he wants to change an obit. Am I going to quit over an obit?
An obit, yeah.
And they moved it down a couple paragraphs, and he came by the next day, and he said, how you feel about everything? I said, okay. He said, oh, so you're one of those guys who can get over stuff like that? And I said, that's what I want you to think. He's like, okay.
Back to View to a Kill
And
for a second.
clearly,
though.
you've gotten over it.
Oh, but what the family? Sorry, the other thing about this guy, he didn't have a stomach. Interesting fact. But the family said he took all the heat for Bo. Bo wanted to fire Ernie. He agreed to do it, and he took the heat to cover Bo on that. So whatever, Bo. Take down a statue for other reasons.
Did you like View to a Kill, Mark?
Yes.
I know you like the song, but did you like the...
that movie gets panned, doesn't it?
No, it's probably not a great Bond movie, but Christopher...
Grace Jones?
Great villain.
Grace Jones, but Christopher Walken's great in it.
Yeah.
And he says schedule.
It's pretty silly.
Right on schedule.
Thank you for that fact.
Instead of schedule. I thought Mike would like that, being the Anglophile that he is.
There he goes with the transference again.
It's a good move. I gotta learn that from Sean.
So please send us your suggestions for room 7609 to mlsolvedetroit@gmail. We will get back. Sean he can't take it anymore. He says we've got to get back to new wave music, and if Sean wants it,
please,
it shall be done.
Pretty please.
So we hope you enjoyed our little diversion into Britpop, but we love all your suggestions. We're looking for great new wave bands that have songs you may love but other people haven't heard, or songs you may love from bands nobody's heard of. Send them our way. We will give them the platform they so richly deserve. And speaking of riches, please share some of yours with us. We would appreciate it if you would make a small donation, as Bryant has. Bryant, once again, is the only person we have to thank, which we thank him sincerely, and we don't want him to be lonely in that benefactor role. Mark, how do people throw us a bone?
mlsolvedetroit.com. Right on the top menu, you'll see a Venmo link if you want to do it that way, or you see a PayPal link.
That's right. If you see the Venmo link, it says Daisy House LLC. That money will get to us. Please send it, and of course, we'll take your PayPal money as well. And we have some feedback from our lovely and dynamic audience. So who wants to start?
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, all right. Okay. This is from Frank via Facebook, which of course you can email to mlsolvedetroit@gmail.com. But Frank says, the info on your show is top notch. When you derail the show with your stupid sidebars, it's time to fast forward. Have some self-control. You're not that clever, believe it or not. Who's he talking to there?
Probably me.
No, he was referring to me. That was posted on our Facebook page, which is ML Elric. So Frank is...
It's good to see you listen. You had a lot of self-control this week.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep it to a minimum.
Believe it or not.
I feel chastened.
Hey, feedback's feedback.
Do you have any feedback, Mike?
All feedback and constructive criticism appreciated. Do you
have any feedback to read?
Mean comments. No, I wanted to step aside and let the stars.
read.
The stars shine.
Go ahead, read.
I don't have any.
It's good to know you're one of those guys that gets over things like that.
I'm sorry, Mark.
You don't have any?
Still recovering. No, Sean, the one that says feedback with Sean on the top, but that's for you.
Well, I thought you might have one too.
I don't have any.
Okay, this is about room 7609, and it's from Pat. And sincerely, it's from Pat. So I'm just going to get that out of the way. And it starts out this way. This is a real ringing endorsement of me. I guess I'm with Sean. ...
That's as good as it's going to get, brother, so you better keep reading. ...
You went from new wave to Britpop. That's like having a doctor tell you they misdiagnosed you at your previous visit. Sorry, Mr. Fill in the blank. There was a mix-up at the lab. You don't have AIDS after all. You have inoperable rectal cancer. The only thing worse than the songs is ML's breakdown of the song after it mercifully ends. I still listen to every show. Again, sincerely, Pat. Thank you, Pat, for listening, and thank you for your feedback. And I can relate. I love the show, but I can relate to the music making the ears bleed.
He's with Shawn. Pat's with Shawn. So that's our feedback. You can write to us anytime.
Sounds so bummed today.
ML Soul of Detroit.
You're fine. You get over things.
Well, no, your listeners love the show. They just don't want Mike to talk as much.
They don't want his music. They don't want him to talk as much.
No, yeah, they want him to talk. Just they want him to stay focused.
I'll be okay. Not that anybody cares. But as I say all the time, I'm able to do the work I'm able to do because I got over not being popular in high school. It's prepared me for everything that came after.
Yeah, I wasn't popular either.
For everything that came after.
Didn't worry about it too much. Eventually. Middle school is a little harder. 9th grade, maybe. What about you, Mark? You were probably pretty popular.
I don't know.
Big man on campus, football player.
Yeah, you have those big calves. You have the big calves. You know what I mean? They carry you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Thank you for that. Thank you for objectifying me one more time.
It probably made you a really good football player, which made you really popular in the narrow view of American high schools.
Wow, okay.
So any predictions for where this season is going after what we saw in week 1 for our favorite Big Ten teams?
Same exact. I don't know why.
I'm just going to say it'll win one more game.
For the whole year? What are you talking about?
No, they'll
win 6.
They'll have a chance. They'll have a chance.
I told you they'll wear teams.
They should
wear
6, have a chance at 7. Actually, I thought Noah Kim threw some really nice balls as the game went on.
He was not the Kim that impressed me the most. That was the first 47-yard field goal I've seen in Spartan Stadium by a Spartan kicker in a long time.
I guess the only question I have for that
transfer from North Carolina is also named Kim. He looked good.
Real quickly, I remember from a year ago, Kim would come in and he'd throw a few passes. You're like, huh, that looks different. I mean, he's got Peyton Thorne, coach's son, all that savvy, was good pocket presence. It was a joy to cover. He was a good player, but Kim throws a better ball as just a little more arm talent. You can just see it.
He seems to have more of a catapult, doesn't he?
He does.
He gets down with a little bit of authority.
I don't know what that'll mean moving forward. I don't know if because Peyton Thorne played quarterback well.
You're not going to drop balls like that, like you had on Friday.
But he threw a few balls as the game went on, in the second half in particular, Mike, that were kind of like, oh, okay.
My only question coming out of that game is, a guy gets carted off on the opening kickoff.
Yes.
Is Central Michigan that important of a game that he has to come back in and return another kickoff?
Because and he doesn't just come back in. He comes back in the one position where you're going to get hit hard.
Is there that big
So Mel Tucker was asked about that yesterday, and he said it's up to the medical staff if they say he can go, whatever.
That's passing the buck. Well, why bother?
It is up to the medical staff whether he can. But like if they say he can't play,
him, sure. No,
if they say he can't play, then
yeah.
Tucker can't. It has no authority to supersede that.
But if they also say if they say he can play, you could go. It's Central,
it's not gonna look good, right? So you could play.
Well, you're right, Sean. 80% of it is about perception.
And
I mean,
the
announcers were blown away that they.
Well, they were, and there were a few folks. I was up in East Lansing yesterday. There were a few folks that wondered. This is just a. I hate to speculate in my role and my job, but there were a few folks that wondered if he just snuck in.
No, well, it didn't sound like
it. Just ran out there.
Oh, you mean like once he was cleared to go back in?
Yeah, once he was cleared by the medical staff.
Either way.
They would have had 12 players on the field, right? Because the guy who was supposed to go out there would have gone out.
Well, he could have just said to the guy, his replacement,
I'm going. I'm going. I don't know if that happened or not.
But that's even worse. That's even worse.
Yeah, so if that, and I don't know if that happened or not, right? But if it did happen, you wouldn't want to admit that, right? You just want to say the medical. I don't know. He shouldn't have been in for the play.
Central Michigan.
Well,
they didn't.
No, because if you say that, then you're attaching, the value of wins and losses to the health. You don't say Central. You say, hey, I don't care who it is. He doesn't need to be back out there. It doesn't look good. You got carted off. He should wait until at least a week, and we can talk about it. Well, they don't talk about injuries much, but in any case,
I just thought it was weird.
It was weird, and the other thing is Henry looks like a fantastic option on kicks. So it's not like, if we don't put this guy in, we're going to get pinned deep. I mean, he looked fantastic. And that one-handed catch in the end zone, holy crap.
Look, it wasn't going back to, is it Alante Brown? I think was the guy's name. It's a similar, but I think the Michigan example is way worse. When Shane Morris got the concussion against Minnesota.
Yeah.
And went back in the game. I mean, it was ludicrous.
And Shane finished his career at Central Michigan.
Full circle.
Left-handed gunslinger from
Thanks for the feedback, everyone.
Michigan had kind of a slow first half. Just watching the scoreboard, I didn't watch the game because I couldn't see it.
5 straight possessions where they scored.
I thought most of the scoring came in the second half.
No. Most of it came in the first.
They were pinned on the one for their first possession and decided to run up the middle 3 times. But then they scored on the next 5 possessions.
Maybe it was the first quarter. I couldn't watch it, but it looked like things started slow. But obviously, it ended very, very well for Michigan.
It ended slow, but yeah.
It ended very
well.
slow.
The ending was very good for
McCarthy looked really good. J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback.
Who else jumped out for you? I mean, I don't know any of their wide receivers. Was there anybody who stood out?
Roman Wilson.
He's definitely on the same page with Roman, yeah.
He played well in the
Is he number
semis.
1 now? Is he wearing number 1?
Yep.
He is. He played well in the semis against TCU, and he looked good again.
Okay.
They're tied in.
Colston Loveland? He had 2 great routes. Yeah.
Just is so fluid. He looked well. He's a leaguer.
He looks legit.
Yeah, he looks really good.
But, I mean, it's pretty much everything
J.J. McCarthy, you look like he took over the team. Like this is his team. This is his huddle. They're not gonna. They're gonna throw the ball more. They're comfortable. Yeah. So
who else looked good? Former Michigan quarterback Caden McNamara.
Well, I wanted to get to my favorite Michigan quarterback in a minute.
Oh, Milton. Yeah.
Milton looked good. Alan Bowman played well at Oklahoma State.
But what about so that's what J.J. McCarthy did without the head coach and the offensive coordinator there. Do you think that game plan changes once they're back on the sideline?
No, it's his game plan. It's Harbaugh's game plan. Yep. He was there until Friday night.
Okay. Yeah. So
I do think at times there's a little stubbornness though, which maybe that does come from Harbaugh. Like for instance on that first possession, running it 3 times in, or when they remember the 4th down goal line when they got stuffed. There was a lot of stubbornness there, just running it in the middle. So,
well, you saw that with Mel Tucker too. Michigan State tried to establish the run in the first half. They got stuffed a couple times.
4th and 1, running out of the shotgun.
4th and 2.
That's what drives fans crazy.
What the hell are they doing? I think both of those coaches have that classic Big Ten mentality. We have to control the ground game, and then we'll open it up. And then they kind of find out once they open it up, holy crap, we can.
Yeah, Michigan ran the first 3 times because they were pinning the 2, and then they threw, I want to say,
like 31 rushes.
10 of their next, 16 plays they threw or something.
JJ set a record, most highest completion percentage.
I mean, they threw the ball a lot and very well. Yeah, no, the way McCarthy looked, that's going to change the potential for them at the end of the year if they get there unblemished.
How did you feel about the free Harbaugh T-shirt?
Oh, the McCarthy wore?
Yeah,
it's fine. He's a quarterback.
This guy.
It's this guy. He's just showing his love for his coach,
Does that draw more attention to it, though? Is it sort of like, let's not talk about it?
Oh, no, I think they want that.
They do.
They want that attention.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wrote that.
That's their victim
I
position.
mentioned that in the column I wrote about that and McCarthy. It was my first column of the day, that what we call the Insta column. And, I wondered, well, maybe this guy likes attention, but that doesn't mean he doesn't believe in what he was saying about his coach and he loves his coach.
Well, he said he missed the. Well, I think you wrote that he missed the vibe of having him there.
Yeah, he did. He did. He said it actually surprised him. He said he didn't think it'd be that different, but then he realized it was. And, Harbaugh's got a presence. Whatever you think. About it.
No. I can see that he'd bring a lot of energy to a locker room. But I saw that and I thought, okay, so we got free Harbaugh, we had free Juwan Howard, we had the hockey coach fired for being a liar. I mean, what's going on with this program that everybody needs to be freed? Is there a concern that there's
for a
lack of institutional control? Is Ward Emanuel sitting here saying, geez, why do I have all these coaches that are getting in trouble? What the hell's going on here? But we keep winning, so except for the basketball team. But the hockey team, oh my God.
Whatever you want to believe.
Hockey team is, of all the teams on Michigan's campus, that is the best team. They're fantastic, unbelievable.
Be nice if they put it all together.
It would be nice if they finished.
That's kind of the postseason's issue, but whatever.
That's tough. But
I think that football team's pretty good.
So you're not. No. Hey, listen.
I got an argument with my dad.
Listen, I'm heartbroken how good that football team is.
My dad said they were overrated. I said, okay, hear me out. Who's number 2 then? He's like, that team, because he's an Ohio State
Clemson?
fan. No, he points to the TV because Ohio State was on. He's like,
did you see the Ohio State game?
I'm like, hey, where were you the last 2 years of those games? He's like, oh, Ohio State gave those games away.
Well, they did last year.
Bullshit.
That Ohio State team last year had no. I mean, this is why Ryan Day wasn't feeling it.
Physically beat the shit out of them.
They had no business losing that game. When they came back a month later. And probably should have
couldn't run the ball. Period.
And shouldn't have beat. And should have. And they almost beat Georgia. Should have. If they didn't have the injury, right? Yeah. And there was no way they weren't going to beat TCU or Michigan in that title game. But you watch that performance, you're like, okay, what did Ryan do against Michigan? Right? It's just they were tight, man.
They looked. They were in their head. I think that Sanders still play in the end zone. That was the game right there. I mean, Michigan. After that, they just trucked them up. Trucked them.
Ohio State couldn't run the ball.
Did you see Ohio State on Saturday?
They didn't run the ball against Georgia, but it didn't matter because Stroud was throwing to NFL receivers all over the place, and they didn't do that against Michigan. And their defense is not Georgia's. It was weird.
I'll try one more time. Anybody see Ohio State and Indiana on Saturday?
I did not. Mark did.
Yep.
I have I'm going to Indiana for the Michigan State road game. I am now officially worried about Indiana, unless Ohio State is that bad.
Don't be. I think that game said a lot more about Ohio State than it did Indiana.
That's
Indiana's
the consensus.
Terrible.
We'll see.
So, as a Wolverine, are you now putting every dollar you can spare on the Michigan Ohio State game now?
No.
Really?
Well, no. Come on. A lot can happen between now and then.
Well, I'll tell you what I did see this weekend.
Ohio State looked terrible.
I think Michigan State will compete with Michigan in East Lansing.
Okay.
I just hope we don't clothesline anybody. I hope we don't viciously hurt anybody.
I think you guys will compete with them.
Okay.
I think so too. I think I'm interested in this Nick Carter.
We'll see.
This Nick Carter has some speed. He looks like he's going to be a good back. He's going to be better than what we've had for a while if they make a good game plan. But it was great
on that Michigan defense. It's crazy.
Oh no, there's no question. Hey, listen,
Penn State,
Michigan is legitimately
I'll be at that
wagon.
That's the one that scares me.
Yeah.
So Penn State had a good start too, didn't
they? Penn State is really loaded.
Yeah, no, that guy Franklin gets players.
Anyway,
Ohio
State
we're turning off our listeners right now with all this.
Ohio State will be fine. They had a lot of new players on offense.
We should have called Cyrus and then had this discussion off air.
Well, I just was hoping
Shawn needs to go.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's not just that. It's just we're getting too knee deep into college football.
You're right.
Sorry, listeners.
No, he's right.
What's coming up on the Carlos and Shawn?
A lot of college football.
Detroit Lions, because they kicked their season off, and I don't want to talk about another football team here, but yeah.
I did not see that coming. But you know who else didn't see it coming?
Who?
Cyrus.
He just stood up there and said what he had to say, and they took him out!
You digger! L.Q. Jones.
The Soul of Detroit. A podcast
that has become a legend by word of mouth. Rated R.